Chinese troops and police are tightening their hold on Tibetan areas in the western region of China in an effort to keep anti-government protests from spreading. The protests in Tibet come as China prepares for the Summer Olympics and have won sympathy in other countries. Protesters in London, Paris, and San Francisco disrupted the traditional Olympic torch relay through those cities ahead of the Games in Beijing. Dan Sutherland is the executive editor at Radio Free Asia and covered crackdowns in Tibet in the 1980s. He says this time the protest was even bigger.
Even though 59 involved an armed revolt, it's bigger in the sense of being more widespread. It covers a huge area. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of miles from Lhasa, things are happening.
At a news conference in Seattle Sunday, the Dalai Lama threatened to resign as leader of Tibet's exiled government if violence in his homeland spirals out of control. He again stressed that he is only seeking cultural autonomy.
Tibetan should be a citizen of the People's Republic of China. Happy citizen of the People's Republic of China.
But the Chinese government insists the exiled spiritual leader is seeking independence for Tibet. Sutherland says that is the main reason why there has been no progress so far in the dialogue between the two sides.
They're painting him so black that how can they talk to him? And yet most of the analysts in the West will tell you that their best hope is to engage somebody who is not calling for independence.
Ravi at Columbia University in New York says ignoring the Dalai Lama's calls for autonomy and sparking anger and frustration among young Tibetans might be a part of the Chinese strategy to weaken him.
Why does China not give concessions to match the dialogue process, to match the concessions that Dharamsala has given in the last few years and in the last couple of weeks? I think because it's deliberately hoping the young radical Tibetans will get angry and will get violent because this will discredit the Dalai Lama.
The India-based Tibetan government in exile says about 150 people have died since Chinese security forces took action against protesters last month. China says about 20 innocent people have died and blames the casualties on Tibetan rioters. Robbie Barnett again.
It's in terms of arrests, rapid imprisonment, it's going to be executions, and it's going to be long prison sentences, and basically destroying people's lives and making them denounce the Dalai Lama. That's where we're going to see the pressure off camera, out of sight of the international community.
Barnett says 80% of the demonstrations across Tibet were peaceful, but he says the government manipulated the media to focus only on a small number of attacks by the Tibetans on Chinese civilians in Lhasa.
My research suggests that there have been at least 97 other protests across Tibet in the last 5 weeks, and I don't think any of those, as far as I can tell, involved attacks on Chinese civilians.
Barnett warns that Tibetans must let the Chinese migrants in Lhasa know that their anger is against the government. Otherwise, he says, they can lose their cause to a strong nationalist surge from China. On Monday, Chinese students at the University of Washington in Seattle staged demonstrations against the Dalai Lama, who was there to receive an honorary degree. Ravi, Khanna, Voice of America.